mira, bobo. Anda para allá, bobo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SoFlo Soccer channel. My name is Matt. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me tonight. We got some more Inter Miami talk, but tonight is a very, very special night. We have a very special guest with us today. We just recently met. We did some stuff together at the Baton Herons doing the Spanish show in Las Garzas. As some people call him Peluca. He's a very passionate man, and he has some very, very controversial takes to some people. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to the man, Danny Solana.
What's up, Matt? How's it going? Thank you so
What's
much
up?
for bringing me on. This is a collab that's been in the works for a while, and just so happens that today on my mom's birthday, nonetheless, we get to talk some Inter Miami, and so happy birthday, Mom! In case you're watching.
Happy birthday, Mama Solana, dude. Oh my God. That's my birthday's on Saturday, which is when Inter Miami plays. And I'm still going to be going live then as well. So that's awesome. We share a birthday. We share a birthday within a birthday span, a birthday week. But no, it's amazing to have you. Having this collab under the works has been an understatement. We've wanted to do this for a while now. And I appreciate everybody. The chat's already going crazy. I don't know if you can see this already. The chat is going we got to be saying Chelo is shit. Drake is cooked. It's insane. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna jump straight into it. And Chelo being the first talking point. Should Chelo start? Should he be sold? Should he be benched? I want your take on this first, Solana, because we have two completely views on this. So I'm gonna let you have this first.
So here's the thing. They just announced that Gonzalo Luján just got his visa. So they announced the signing. So now there's technically another, I guess, quote unquote, natural right back in the flow of things now, in the mix. So until today, I would have said Chelo has to be your starter because you don't have anybody else. And now I know the chat's probably going to go crazy because we've seen Ian Frey play right back, and he's done a very good job. But so far in the preseason, we've seen him strictly as a center back. And I don't know if, El Jefecito is going to want to put him at right back where, it might mean that he has to give a little bit more physically because we expect the right back to go up and down. So at center back, you could probably allow him not to overexpose himself physically coming back from an injury. So getting back to your original question, should Chelo start after all of that? My answer is still yes. Why? I think he's done not a great job. I don't think he's the best right back in the league. But considering at the right backs that Inter Miami has had in its history, I have to put him there as, top one, top two, top three, definitely top three. I mean, you're talking about guys like DeAndre Yedlin, Ben Sweat. I believe we had another guy named Powell play right back for us. So it's been a complete, for lack of a better word, shit show at the right back position for Inter Miami. And Chelo has been somewhat of a breath of fresh air in my eyes. So if today was game one against Sporting Kansas City, CONCACAF Champions League, Chelo is my starter.
That I was going to get into that later, but since we're going into that now, let's get into it now. In my opinion, I want to agree with some of the things that you said. Chelo has definitely been the best, if not one of the better right backs that we've had at the club. But like I said, in my opinion, he's not outstanding. I've always said that he's extremely, extremely mid. And in 2024, I thought that every performance that he had was either, okay, he did his job at the bare minimum, or he did worse. He did below average. So it's like, in my opinion, if I'm a coach, I'm asking myself, okay, are we going to allow this guy, Chelo, to have these kinds of performances week in and week out, mid performances, below average performances, week in, week out, and still be our number one? Have that be our number one. We shouldn't settle for something like that, especially when it comes to CONCACAF Champions Cup, a tournament that this year we have huge, huge, huge chances of winning because of the path of the road that we have this year. So, in my opinion, after all of this, should he be number one? Not necessarily. He shouldn't be guaranteed that number one spot. He should definitely have to fight for it, especially now that Lujan is back. But should he be number one? I would say from the beginning, no. Until he proves to the team, he proves to Mascherano, he proves to the fans that he can perform above average consistently throughout the season. And that's my take on it.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I see where you're coming from. And again, I don't think anybody on this team, other than, maybe Messi, it should be guaranteed a spot. Maybe Jordi Alba and Busi. Okay, I understand it. And look, at this point, Suarez probably shouldn't be guaranteed a starting spot. And I know a lot of people are going to think that coming out of my mouth, that sounds kind of crazy. But look, he's an older guy. Should he be starting most of the important games? Absolutely. But should he be sitting some of the other games where he could get some rest those knees, rest those legs? Absolutely. And that's why, Inter Miami is looking for a backup 9. But everybody on this team needs to have some sort of competition. And that's what Lujan is going to do to Chelo. And I think it's only going to push him more, because in this preseason, Matt, I think Chelo has done, again, more than a mid job. He did a pretty good job in the game against America. He did an okay job again against Universitario. There wasn't any goals, scored in that game. So that has to be looked at as a positive. Then if I'm not mistaken, he had an assist in the game against San Miguelito to Ben Krem. So look, he's getting into his rhythm. And then let's not forget, he got into almost a boxing match. And that's my favorite part about him. And I love the fact that we have that type of fire on this team. And if Lujan is just like that, I mean, we're set at the right back position between Chelo and Lujan, because that fire, when you mix in Peluca in there, I mean, the back line is going to be, we're going to be expecting some craziness and some fireworks out of that back line all year.
I'm genuinely so excited for those new guys to come in, Falcao and Peluca and Lujan to join and to play. And now that he's got his visa, he's most likely to, well, I don't know about start, but he can travel with the team tomorrow morning, no? When they get there, of course.
Absolutely. It was already rumored that he would be traveling with the team to Honduras. Yeah. So if he's there, I assume he's been practicing, he's been training on the side, with his own trainer or something. Right. So I assume that he's active. Now we'll have to see how many minutes he's going to get.
I'm very excited. Well, do you think Chelo starts tomorrow, or do you think Lujan is going to get maybe either a start or the majority of the minutes?
I think Chelo's going to start, just because he's the one that has been starting. But there's another game coming up. Then you have Champions Cup. I think Mascherano needs to see what Lujan can offer. And so I think he needs to get some minutes and some important minutes. I think in that Orlando game, we're going to see a lot of these guys who haven't played so much in the preseason get a lot of minutes. A Lujan, a Maxi Falcon, once he gets his visa, hopefully Segovia once he gets his visa as well. We're going to see those guys in the Orlando game, and really that's the last game left, right?
Yeah, I have two things before we move on, and one of them is I hate the fact, this could just be me, but I hate the fact that everybody is now glazing Chelo because he got that assist to Benja, because it's like that's like the one positive thing that he did. Like the one outstanding thing that stood out of whatever performance he had. That's like the one thing that stood out. And I'm like, great, that's one assist. Not only is that one assist, but that's contra Sporting San Miguelito. I'm like, give me that assist against Sporting Kansas City in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Give me that against Orlando. Give me that against another, I don't know, an MLS team. But I just think it's hilarious. But no, I see your view. I see your point. The chat, I think, is honestly on your side. Well, no, it's kind of split, actually. It's very split. A lot of people are saying that Chelo is ass. A lot of people are saying that he should start. Guys, let me know more in the chat. Who do you think? Who would you prefer to see start? Would you want to see Chelo, or would you want to see Lujan? I'm very looking forward to seeing Lujan get some minutes at least off the bench. Like you said, after seeing Chelo almost getting turned into Canelo Alvarez, as I like to call him, in that last game, that gives me a lot of hope. But he still has to, in my eyes, he still has to prove to me that he can be our number one and that he deserves to be getting the majority of the starts, the majority of the minutes throughout the season, especially when it comes down to just a couple of weeks, 2 weeks before our first actual competitive game starts.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, one thing I want to see him before we move on. Last thing
Yeah,
on the Chelo thing, because I do have a criticism of him, and that's his centers. I want to see him work on his centers. He needs to center the ball, especially when he's going for that second post. There's a lot of times where it doesn't even make it there. It barely even gets to the penalty spot. And as a right back, as a left back, I mean, you look at what Jordi Alba does. And of course, you can't compare Jordi Alba to Chelo, who played in the Argentine league, and he hasn't played those games. But as a right back, if you're playing professionally, and this is any right back, not specifically Chelo, but if you're playing professionally, you got to be able to center the ball consistently, to the guys in the box, because if not, then that's 3/4 of your job, other than the defending. So yeah, in Chelo we trust. Look, I look at this point now. Matt's convincing me now. Maybe Lujan should start. I don't know. We're gonna go back. We could go back and forth on this for an hour if we wanted to. But
at the end of the day, there's no right option. All I'm saying is that he needs to prove to us that he could be our number one. Gressel has done really well when it comes to. He's always been. I mean, I can't compare Gressel and Chelo, but Gressel is that type of person that I was very for Gressel last year. There was a lot of Gressel haters last year. I don't know if you've witnessed any of them. A lot of Gressel haters. I was on his side the entire year for Gressel. I thought he did things that people didn't appreciate. I think crossing was one of those things. Now that we're talking about that, he was able to run down that right-hand side or be on that right flank and cross it into the box like it was nothing. Like he would give a really good cross. And whether that turned into a goal or not, it still turned into an opportunity that we could have potentially scored from. That's something that Chelo has to improve in his game, especially if he wants to push further up the field. But we're just going to have to see when it comes to, at least for this next game that's happening on Saturday. And then hopefully we can see more things to come in the last preseason game. And then hopefully against Sporting Kansas City. We're going to get into a starting 11 prediction at the end, guys. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you get your starting lineup predictions ready to go for the end. But let's move on to the next controversial discussion that has been this has been blowing up the Discord for a while now. And that is Drake, in or out? And if he's out, who is going to be your starting goalkeeper? Is it Ustari or is it Rocco? Take it away, Solana.
I think I've been the most vocal about this, even, posting a reel on social media where I was on the Battered Herons and we had this specific conversation. And I said, anybody but Drake. And I still stand by that. Again, this is not Drake hate. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate over it because there's a lot of, look, I'm a big proponent of players have, like how we say in Spanish, etapas, right? They have times where they play for a team. And in my opinion, I think Drake's etapa on Inter Miami should be done. He won a trophy. He was good under the sticks, but he's not what this team needs. This team needs a goalkeeper who can handle the ball, who is very calm under pressure. We've seen Ustari do that throughout the preseason. When the ball is played back to him, there's no issues. When he clears the ball, 9 times out of 10, it goes to one of his players. When Drake would clear the ball, it would just go absolutely anywhere. And again, I'm not faulting, Drake and saying he's a bad player. I just think his time in an Inter Miami uniform should just be done, and Inter Miami should move forward with Ustari as their number 1, Rocco as their number 2, and then who knows, maybe they sign or they bring up an academy guy to be the third. But to me right now, Ustari has the experience. He's played the high-profile games. He's been a national team goalkeeper. I used to watch him when he was in Independiente. That's where he started, and I loved him when he played in Independiente, and I've been following his career ever since. And again, I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and he's exactly what this team needs.
Okay. This is a lot. How? Okay. Can you take any positive coming out of Drake before I say what I have to say? Can you take any positive that comes out of Drake
Yeah,
from the years that we've seen him play?
I think he's a top 5 goalkeeper blocking, like, like underneath the post. When it comes
Okay.
to one-on-ones, he does very good coming out. Coming out of his line, off his line to attack the ball, and he saved a lot of times. Look, Inter Miami's defense has been not that great. Other than last year, they were top 5, but the years prior, they were not a good defense. He's not responsible for a lot of the times that they scored a lot of goals, but he also has had some blunders. So I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. There's a reason that he's been called up to the national team, and it's not by Greg Berhalter. It's by Mauricio Pochettino, who more, just as well as I know. He's coached in very important teams, and he's a great football mind. So there's a reason why he's on there. Now, I just think he needs to develop more. And sometimes for a player, it's better to go somewhere else and find that next skill than just continue to be stale in the same place that you're at.
I honestly agree with you on that point. Because especially at Inter Miami, I felt like for the longest time, especially in like 2021, 2022, I felt like we've had a curse of like having players on this team and then them like not being able to do anything or like produce anything spectacular, and then like they would move on and then they would have amazing seasons with like other teams. The main one being, in what I can think of off the top of my head, is Julian Carranza. I know this is completely off topic, but I loved Julian Carranza here. And I really I knew he was going to be good here, but Higuain kept like overshadowing him. And then he went to Philly and then he popped off. And now he's in, I think it's Feyenoord now. And like, I'm like, dude, we could have had him. He could have been like amazing. But anyway, I think, okay, I agree with you to the point where Drake needs to improve because he was our number 1 last year. But not only he was our number 1, he was the only one last year, in my opinion. He was I'm pretty sure everybody can agree with me. He was our only goalkeeper last year. We had Dos Santos, we had fuck is his name, Cole Jensen, and then we had Owen Finnerty, that also came from the youth academy, or for the second team. We had nobody in the goalkeeping position that can contest with Drake. So Drake was playing week in and week out, and the same with Chelo. If Drake had a mid performance, an average performance, below average performance, if he was making a lot of mistakes, there was no consequences behind that. So he was never growing, and he was never learning. But there was just no consequence to him having a mid or below average performance on the field. So I think now the fact that we have Ustari, now that we're going to have Ustari for the entire season, before we had him for like half the season or a couple months. Now we have an experienced player in Ustari. Now we have a young guy in Rocco who is eager to learn and develop. This gives Drake extremely, extremely, extremely healthy competition in net. And this is the most confident I felt about our goalkeeping situation, probably like since the beginning of this club. Because like we've had like marksman, we had that other guy, I forget his name. He gave me his McCarthy. We had like all these other guys that didn't really live up to anything. But now we have 3 pretty quality goalkeepers. All have their flaws, all have their strengths. At the end of the day, do I think Drake should start? I think he, like with Chelo, he needs to earn his spot. Right now, if you were to ask me right now, is Drake our starting goalkeeper? I would say no, because he has not played. First of all, he's not played for us. He's been injured this whole time. And when you look back at last year, and now that we have Ustari actually committing with Mascherano, who seems like Ustari is going to be that number 1 guy, and now with our younger guy in Rocco, it looks like they're going to be taking the reins from here on out.
I agree. Now, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with you, because I agree that competition is super healthy and it's needed, right? But I feel like when Drake is facing that competition, is he going to have that nervousness in the goal where it's, oh my gosh, if I make a mistake, they're going to pull me. And that is, to me, what I feel like Drake is missing. He doesn't have that confidence in himself. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get it in an Inter Miami uniform. He hasn't been able to refine that confidence that he was once playing with, a couple of years ago when Inter Miami won the Leagues Cup. That to me was one of his best stretches, and I think Inter Miami really screwed up by not selling him in that winter transfer window, because they would have got max value for him. But unfortunately, I feel like while competition is good for some, that's only if you're confident in yourself and your abilities. And I just feel like he's not confident in his own abilities, to where if he has somebody breathing down his neck, he might be, like somebody here is saying, happy feet, or, he's not going to be playing without his feet, or he's going to be a little, nervous. And that worries me.
What is it? Pecho frío a little bit. It's
I don't want to say it that way, because that's a little rough. Pecho frío is a little rough, but que le faltan un poco de huevos, quizás, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. It's funny that you say that, because a lot of people, especially in the beginning of last year, a lot of people were really criticizing him, especially when he was making those mistakes in the CONCACAF Champions Cup against, what was it, Monterrey. And a lot of people were criticizing him. And I was probably one of those people. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I was probably one of those people. Mentally, it's going to be tough, I think. Like you said, I don't know. I've never looked at Drake as somebody that struggled mentally, but that's just because I never thought about it. I would just only think about his actual performances on the field. But if what you say, you're 100% right in all this, by the way, in terms of his mental game, because that you can be the best goalkeeper in the MLS or in the world, and you can not have any confidence in yourself or have a pretty bad mentality, and that makes you one of the worst. If Drake, I really hope he does, because I want to root for him, because he's one of our keepers, and I want to wish him the best. But he needs to improve that game on himself, like you said. He needs to be confident in himself, be confident in his abilities, improve on his abilities, because Ustari is right there, breathing down his neck. I want to talk about Ustari for a little bit, because Ustari, not that I have doubts on Ustari, but I personally, I've never seen Ustari play outside of Inter Miami. I know he's played for La Selección. I know he played in a lot of other clubs, but I've never in person seen me play. That's probably because I'm pretty young and I haven't seen him. I just haven't seen any of that. So what can Ustari, because besides I know a lot of people say that he can play with the ball with his feet and with confidence. What with Ustari do you see that is okay, this guy is our number one goalkeeper, despite being in his mid-30s or whatever?
Well, he's 38.
Oh, is he 38? I thought he was 36 or 35. He's 38. So essentially 40. He's a 40-year-old goalkeeper. What makes you what makes you say a 40-year-old goalkeeper is your number one goalkeeper?
He's played in Spain. He's played in England. Mm-hmm. He's played Copa Libertadores. He's played, like I said, with the national team. He's played Copa del Rey. Experience is what is needed in the goalkeeper position, especially in MLS, where the defenses are not the top defenses because of the salary cap issues. Yep. We know that a lot of people like to spend on forwards, on midfielders, and you don't really spend a lot of money on your defense. So what you need in goal is somebody with experience, somebody with security, and somebody who's been there and played big games before in their career. Not saying Drake hasn't, he has, but Ustari to me has played in bigger games. He had over 140 games playing in Liga MX. He's had over almost 100 games playing in the Argentinian league. So this is a lot of games under his belt. He's played close to 36,000 minutes in his career. Think about that. Damn, compared to Drake. So and I'm pulling out all these stats just because I want folks to understand that I'm not making a judgment on Drake and on this Drake versus Ustari thing based on something that I'm pulling out of my butt. I'm literally have studied this and I've looked at tape on both of these guys. And like I said, I've seen Ustari since he debuted with Independiente. That's how old I am. I'm a year older than him. So I've seen him throughout his entire career. Now, I haven't watched every single game, but I've seen enough to know that he is definitely what this team needs at this moment in time for the type of year that they're about to have.
You're making amazing points, and I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But it's like for somebody like me, who I've never seen him play like prior to Inter Miami, like properly enough to be like, oh, okay, like this guy is really good. I can only look at his background, and I can only look at what he has brought to the table so far, and kind of judge him based off that. He played one game for us last year. And then after that, he hasn't played a game up until now, the preseason. And even in the preseason, I felt like he hasn't been contested or tested, I guess you could say, that maybe not contested, tested enough to be 100, but like I want to be 100% confident in my goalkeeper. I'm not 100% confident. I'm confident in his abilities. I know that Ustari is a great keeper based on everything that you just said. But based on what I've seen on the field in these last the last 2 games, and in the one game last year, it's like, okay, I'm not 100% that I'm not 100% positive that you're going to be my number 1 keeper. I still need to see more from Ustari, not in terms of what he can do on the pitch, but I just need to see more minutes out of him. I need to see more minutes. I want to see what he can do over a stretch of time here in the MLS, and if he can do it consistently, and that goes the same thing with Rocco. If Rocco gets some game time, because I know the only reason why like Rocco played that one in the preseason was because like Ustari wasn't available and obviously Drake was injured, so Rocco was our only option. But if Rocco gets some game time, I want to see the same thing from him. I want to see what can I see within like a 5-game, 6-game, 7-game period that you bring to this team. I'm already looking at the chat and everybody thinks I'm crazy. I swear to God, it's like I don't know. It's like what do you want me to say?
There was one comment it was actually kind of funny that Miami King, he says Ustari has experience, he's just too calm, but the goalkeeper needs some emotion to lead defense. Now, if I don't know if he means that Drake, but Drake is Mr. Zen, Mr. Yoga. That guy doesn't yell at anybody. Plus, I mean, I don't know if he can communicate with the 4 guys that are playing back there, because I don't know how much English the back 4 speak, and I don't know how much Spanish Drake speaks. I've sat behind and I've seen him yell at his players and direct his players.
Same.
But at the end of the day, do the 4 guys in front of him respect him? And do the 4 guys in front of him have the confidence in him? That's really what it's going to come down to at the end of the day, because it's going to take 11 players. It doesn't take one goalkeeper.
You're 100% right. I've been a season ticket member since the very beginning, right? And I've been to multiple games where I've seen Drake Callender, and I sit really close. I sit like on the 5th row behind the net, so I know what these goalkeepers are yelling at these guys, and I could hear the defenders yell at each other. I hear it all, so I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that. And you're 100% right. I don't know we don't know how much Spanish this guy speaks, and we don't know how good the communication is between the goalkeeper and the center backs, and how much the defense actually, and maybe even the rest of the team, trusts in Drake. Drake was one of our captains. You would hope that they would have trust in him, but that might not be the case this year. I don't know. I thought in the beginning, I thought a couple of weeks ago, like he would still be one of our captains. Same thing with Gressel. He was one of our captains, and they would have a lot of trust in him. But you're making me second guess. You're making me kind of change my opinions on this a little bit.
That's what.
But you're saying Drake out completely. Like you don't want him at that club at all. Like you don't even want him on the bench. You want him gone.
No. Yeah, I think the best landing spot for him would be Cincinnati, so that he can go be with his buddy Yedlin. They were Thunder buddies or whatever you want to call it when they were down here.
Yeah.
And I think, look, why not a fresh start in Cincinnati? And again, it's not a knock on him. I think he could have a decent career, but like I said, it's all about etapas. And right now, for me, it's his time to be done. God, that Wendy's comment is hilarious.
Oh my God. I can't complain that wrong. How would you complain if you got your Wendy's order wrong? Like, would you be like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, I ordered a Baconator and you gave me a freaking number 1. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, if I have to, heck yeah, I'm gonna complain. I mean, if I order something and you don't give it to me right, I'm not just gonna keep driving. No way.
Drake is never. What is this? Drake is never even close to the emotional command. Drake needs to go back home in San Diego. Oh yeah, isn't he from like
He's
Cali or
from
something?
Southern California. But
Oh.
and I don't know. I mean, I don't know who they have over there in San Diego. But again, a change of scenery for him might do him wonders.
I think maybe Drake. Mike V saying Drake orders his Coke Zero, no ice. That's stupid.
I mean, if the Coke is cold, I don't get it with ice either.
I don't get it with ice either, because then like if you leave it too long, then it melts and then it gets all watery. Yeah, no, yeah, you get it.
Of course.
Anyway,
now the question is, do you drink it with a straw or do you drink it straight out of the can?
We're talking. Oh, you're talking about. So we're talking about a can of soda, not like a Wendy's cup of soda.
Yeah,
I drink it straight out of the can.
Yeah, me too. I think it's weird if somebody puts a straw.
I think my brother does it. I'm like, why are you wasting a cup when you could just drink? He's like, I don't know. I want to drink it out of the cup. And I'm like, okay. Guys, cup or can? That's a good question. Guys, cup or can? What was I gonna say? If you were to trade or sell Calendar, what do you think? Like if you are Mas, if you are Jorge Mas right now, if you are Sanle, well, Sanle is not, he's over in Gables. Yeah, he's over in God knows where. If you were like the sporting director, president of football, whatever, and you wanted to trade Drake, what do you think you can get out of like that trade? Like, what do you think, like in terms of money? Do you think you can get a lot of money? Do you think you can get like an international spot? Like, what do you think like you can get out of Drake now? Because before you said we could have sold him for his max value when we won the Leagues Cup. Do you think we can get something?
You want to know what that was? You want to know
what
that? So that number was $7 million at one time.
Oh,
and that's a confirmed number. So that number was $7 million at one time. I think right now you could probably get $1 million or $2 million for him. It just depends where you're going to sell him to. If you're going to sell him to somebody within the league, maybe you can get $1 million, an international roster spot. But his value has just really plummeted, and it stinks. That's what I said. I know Sean.
He's saying 500 game in an international spot. Do you think that's too low?
That's too low for Drake.
It's too low.
That's in my
Sean's
opinion,
saying $2 million.
He was worth 7, guaranteed.
But right now, do you think he's worth 2 more, less?
Yeah, probably about 2. Probably about 2.
Would you take? I think we could take 2. I'll take 2. But 2 straight up is a terrible deal, though.
Even 1, I'll drive him to the airport.
and
I'll wear my black hat and I'll put a tie on and everything. $1 million straight up cash. I'll drive him to Miami International Airport.
No slot, no nothing. No international slot, no nothing.
I'll take
that. Is insane. That's genuinely crazy. You would get rid of him for a Coke, for a Baconator and a Diet Coke.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, this is
no. And they gotta add in the frosting.
And the frosting, chocolate frosting or vanilla frosting?
Chocolate, no doubt.
Okay.
Got a different price.
I want to read the rest of these comments before we move on. Drake is now worth $2 million, maybe $1 million, 2.5 in an international roster slot. Solana wants Drake out of here like the Heat wanted Jimmy Butler gone. I want to ask a basketball reference if we have enough time at the end. Forget goalkeeping. Ustari adds another dimension to Miami's offense. The ability to pass straight into quick attack with his feet, arms. I mean, we saw that a lot in the San Miguelito as well. We saw his passes, like his risky passes that he would take pretty high up the field, and they would end up working out. So if he can do that for the majority of the season, hey man, I'll buy an Ustari jersey. I don't care. I'll support him. I mean, hey, it just is what it is. 125 and 3. All right, get out of here. We got there. We're out of here. Okay, we're done with that. Whew. Okay, now we're done debating on this or that. Let's talk about, now that we have like the majority of our players kind of confirmed, the majority of them have their visas now. Would you say, how confident are you in this team to not only obviously perform tomorrow, hopefully they win tomorrow, but how confident do you feel in them starting off the season against Sporting Kansas City? Do you think we're ready with the team that we have now? Forget about Drake. With the team that we have now, do you think that we're going to be able to compete against the majority of the teams in the MLS, in CONCACAF, and even in Club World Cup?
I think that the roster that Inter Miami has assembled this year is probably one of the best rosters MLS has ever seen.
The MLS has ever seen. Not even
Yes.
just the best Inter Miami team. This is the best MLS team.
Yeah, one of the best rosters that MLS has ever seen. It's deep. It's got a really good collection of young players. It's got obviously historic players like Messi, Suarez, like we've named them. But I'm excited to see what Maximiliano Falcón brings into the mix. Inter Miami has never had a center back. I mean, and I'm going back to the LGP and Nico Figal days,
Okay.
who excelled outside of Miami. And I think that Inter Miami has never had a center back or a center back pairing that's going to be what Toto and Maximiliano Falcón, if they start together, can bring to this team. And that's where it just starts with. Not only there, but like we talked about, we have Gonzalo Lujan, you have David Martinez, who's a backup. You've got Noah Allen, who has shown that he can play both center back and he can play left back. And we're just talking about the defense. Then you get into the midfield, and we have to talk about, is Bright going to start? Is he not? You have Redondo, you have Telasco Segovia, obviously you have Busquets, David Ruiz, Ben Krem. I mean, we're naming a lot of players that are on national teams, and we haven't even gotten to the forwards. I haven't even mentioned Messi. You have Messi, you have Tadeo Allende, who I think, and it was a question in the Discord today, is he over under? Is he going to have more goals than Campana? Way over. Way over.
Okay. I like that.
And again, it's just a super deep roster, and they're not done yet. They're still going to go after a 9, hopefully. And remember, Matt, there's still a transfer window for teams that are in the Club World Cup. In June. There's a 10-day transfer window, and Inter Miami and Seattle, since they're both in there, they got some extra general allocation money to use for that. So they're not done. Is it still possible that Neymar comes in June? Did you see him play last night? If he plays here how he played last night, I think there's still a chance that he comes.
Because remember all those people that were like shitting on him, or not even all those people, the manager himself over there at Al Hilal. It was like, yo, he can't play anymore. He's done. That's it. Let's give him to Santos. He did. That's not what we saw. That's not what we saw when he played for Santos. I'm just saying. So no, I always thought that he was gonna come, whether that was in the summertime or whether that was next year. I know for a fact he has to come at some point. It's almost like a guaranteed at this point. I know Denny was a huge hater on that because he's like, he's not gonna help us win anything, whatever. Anyway,
he definitely didn't watch the game last night.
But I 100% agree with you on everything that you've said, because like this is, I honestly I haven't even thought about the fact that this team could be like the greatest MLS team of all time. Like with not even if you put the Barca guys like on the side, we have amazing talent in this team, and the fact that we can't even decide who our starting midfielders are going to be is a huge. That is the best problem you can have in any team, no matter what. I still personally think that Bright is going to start. Well, he should start over Redondo for now until Redondo can prove to me that he deserves a start, because I have not been liking him, but I have such high expectations for Redondo. I think that he could become one of the best players in the MLS, and he could definitely secure his spot to Europe either at the end of this year, maybe earlier, and I don't know, or maybe next year. But I'm holding, like, his bar is so high for me. Like I want him to be up here, and so like when I see him play this, I'm like, bro, you can do better. But no, you're 100% right. And I have never been so confident in our team, like in previous years compared to this year. This year, I've been like the most confident in this team in terms of depth, in terms of quality, in terms of what we can, just of our expectations. Literally, we were the worst team in the MLS 2 years ago, and now for the second year in a row, we're fighting to be we're one of the favorites to win MLS Cup. We're probably one of the favorites to win CONCACAF Champions Cup, and we have a really nice team to do that. So I think we're super, super ready. no matter what 11 we put out there. I think no matter what 11 we put out there on paper, we look the best. We're always going to be the favorites, and that's always a good thing to be.
Yeah, and we're gonna discuss those 11 in a little bit. So
Oh yeah.
don't leave. If you're in here, don't leave, because if you've liked what you've seen so far, it's just gonna get better.
Let's see. We honestly, do you want to let's get into the game now. Let's talk a little bit about the game against Olympia, what to expect. I know you said you've done your research, you've done your homework before coming on tonight. So let's talk about that, and then we're gonna get into starting 11. But let's get into the game. We're playing against Olympia, one of probably the better teams, if not the best team in Honduras right now. We're arriving tomorrow. It's gonna be a huge game, and I think it's what it is. We're playing in like a 35,000 seat arena, I believe.
35,000 seat stadium. Yep.
In a 35,000 seat stadium, and this should be a pretty good game. What you say? Well, tell me about it. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a good game. So Olympia is by far the best Honduran team in the history of the Honduran soccer league. They've had some interesting clásicos with Real España, with Marathon. But it's interesting. They also have a big rivalry with the Costa Rican team. They've also won a couple of international trophies, and this is a team that they've won the first the first three of their first 4 games this season. They're already in their season. They only lost one game, 1-0. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. They scored 4 goals in one of their games. They have a really good forward by the name and I had it written down. Now I don't have. Here it is. Sorry. By the name of George Benguche, who played in the Swiss league. He's 28 years old. He's their goal scorer. They also have their captain, who's Jerry Bankston, who came from Deportivo Saprissa, from Costa Rica. So they have some interesting players. They also have a Uruguayan, Marcos Montiel, who played in Deportivo Maldonado, 29 years old. He adds some interesting pieces to them, and their coach, they're led. And interestingly enough, here's a stat that's really interesting. They usually have an international coach, and their coaches have usually been Argentinian, Uruguayan, or Brazilian. The last, which is pretty interesting. So their current coach is Uruguayan. Their last coach was Argentinian. Maybe you know Pedro Troglio. He's one of the important coaches in Argentina. But look, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be better than Sporting San Miguelito. I don't think that they're going to be out there to try to injure anybody. I think after what happened last game, people are now aware and are understand the magnitude of what's going on, of Messi going into these stadiums. So I think it's just going to be another una fiesta de fútbol, and we just get to live in it. And what better way than to watch Messi, Suarez, and all these guys play all these games? I love it, man.
What do you really think that they're going to be starting like their full starting 11? Because they just played yesterday.
Yeah, they just played yesterday, and they play this later on next week. So I think 4 days after this game.
They play on Wednesday, so they go Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday. So it's like
So I don't think I think we'll get to see all their players, but it might it's going to be a game where they're not going to play the full 90 minutes. I don't think so. I know that there was a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a rumor that apparently there's a contract signed that Messi has to play a minimum of 45 minutes. So if that's the case, then we're gonna see a half of Messi, and I think that should be enough. In my opinion, one half of these guys should definitely be enough.
I 100% agree on both sides. Honestly, I mean, and for Olympia, they're probably just gonna give everybody a chance to play with Messi and all of them. But I remember talking about it in the last game against San Miguelito, having them, and you can tell me your opinion on this too, like having Messi play for the amount that he played. I understand why they did it, but it was such a huge risk that I felt like should not have been. Well, it's not our fault, right? It's not our fault. It was obviously their fault for committing those kinds of actions. But I don't think we're gonna see something similar to that. I feel like Olympia is gonna have I feel like they're just gonna be not wanting to kill us, like physically. Like they're probably not gonna want to chop our legs off. But and instead, like you said, have a football fiesta, just enjoy the moment, enjoy this friendly game. Everybody goes home without getting hurt and things like that. I like it's good that you've done your homework because I mean, like with the very few or the very little knowledge that I have with Olympia, I still think like this game is going to be similar to the America game in terms of competitiveness for at least for a bit. But then like I think and then like once halftime ends and the second half starts, everybody's gonna come off, and then it's just it's gonna be like subs versus subs at that point. But I still think it's gonna be a pretty good game.
I agree, and I'm gonna hit you with one more stat here on Olympia that a bunch of Argentinians might be upset about, but Olympia is the only Central American team to have ever beaten Boca Juniors. And they did so by beating them 2-1. They're also the first Central American team to win at El Estadio Azteca when they beat Cruz Azul 2-1 in 1988. So, I mean, this is a big team. This is a big team who's played big tournaments. It's not San Miguelito. No disrespect to them. Obviously going, based off of what you said, I agree 100%. I understand why they played. I think if there was a game where you wanted Messi to play extended minutes, it was that San Miguelito game. But as soon as it started getting kind of testy and they started going back and forth, it was definitely the right way to get them out. Yeah. Absolutely. So look, I'm excited for Saturday's game. Every time these guys play, I'm excited. So I'm ready to go.
I've said it in the beginning of the year too. When I went, I think it was like the first time I went on as a guest with the Better Hands with Daniel and Chris. I'm like, because Danny brought up that like it's only been a month, it's only been 2 months since we've seen them play. Like we've just seen them play. Like you can't really miss them. You can't really. I'm like, no, but this is a fresh team. This is a whole new. I feel like this is a whole new team, a brand new coach. I feel there's so much to look forward to, and I honestly can't wait for the game on Saturday, 8:00 p.m. This is it is 8:00, right?
8:00. Yes,
8:00, prime time. Prime time. Everybody's going to be watching. It's going to be available on the Inter Miami website for those of you who always ask. It's going to be available on that website, so anybody and everybody is able to watch it. Now, the chat, I'm going to give you guys a head start because it's going to take you the longest, but I want to know who do you guys want to see as the starting 11 for this game? I'll go first this time because you've been going first this whole time. So I'll take the reins on this one. Obviously, Ustari is going to be in net. A lot of people were saying Drake was going to maybe make his comeback or make his return. I say at this point, it's either just stick with Ustari. I'm like, let's just go with Ustari. Unless they want to kind of see what Drake can do after this injury and like see what and maybe get his feet wet a little bit, get him back into rhythm, get his sharpness up. But it's going to be Ustari. I think the back four is going to remain the same, except I don't know why I think this, but I think that Noah Allen. Hold on. I'm like second guessing myself. For some reason, I have like this huge feeling that Jordi Alba's not going to start. And like that Noah Allen, will start at left back. And the reason why I think that, the main reason why I think that is because we don't have another left back. If that's not Jordi or Noah, that we can probably rely on. So I want to know if Mascherano, El Jefecito, would want to see Noah Allen play the majority of the game at left back, because now we've been seeing like Jordi Alba start, and then like they would take him out, and then they would move Noah over there. So like he would always play maybe like the last 30 minutes in that position. I want to see like Noah maybe play the majority of the game in that role, and then maybe bring on Jordi later, because God forbid, knock on wood, Jordi gets hurt. Boom. Noah's going to be there. Noah's going to be taking that spot. And then the two center backs. If Noah starts, I think the two center backs are going to be Toto and then maybe Frey or maybe Martinez. I want to say Frey. I'm gonna go Toto and Frey, and then on the right back is gonna be Chelo, and then I think Lujan will come off the bench. For the 4 midfielders, I have the 2. I have Tadeo on the left. I'm gonna say Gressel on the right. I think Busi and Bright, Busi and Bright are gonna be the 2 midfielders with Suarez and Messi up top. And that's my 11.
It's not a bad 11. I agree with some of the moves that you made. I will tell you this. So knowing that Jordi Alba is suspended for that first Champions League Cup game,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I agree. I think we should see Noah Allen as a starting left back on Saturday, and I think that should definitely, we need to see him in that position. Now, where does that leave us with the rest of the back four? Does that mean that Lujan is going to play with Toto Aviles? Does that mean that we know that David Martinez has a knock? So who's left to play at left center back? Are we going to see Ryan Saylor? Are we going to, I don't know. So, I think it should, in my opinion, it should be Noah Allen, ? Toto Aviles, Chelo Wigant, Ustari in the net. I like Tadeo Allende on the right. I like Busquets and Redondo in the middle. And then on the left, I would like to continue with Benkrem. I want to see what he can do. And then I would leave Suarez and Messi up top. So really, the only change I would make from the last starting lineup would be Redondo for Bright and Noah Allen on the left for Jordi Alba, and then a question mark in that center back because I just don't know who's going to be available. I just don't know.
Who would you want there? Because we know Martinez can't play, and so the only options we have are what? Ian Frey, and we can't do Falcon because
he doesn't have his visa yet. So maybe it could be Ian Frey. I mean, why not?
Or Saylor.
Yeah, no. or it would be Ian Frey or Saylor. I go Ian Frey.
Okay. So honestly, I thought we were gonna argue a little bit more on that, but no, we essentially got the same thing. So I'm glad. But I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that Jordi Alba was gonna be suspended because honestly, I completely forgot up until today, and now you reminded me again. But yeah, it's gonna be super super crucial, and I don't know if we're gonna see him. I don't know if you think we're going to see Noah Allen play again on the 14th on Valentine's Day against Orlando as a left back, but I think we've seen him multiple times. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, but we've seen Noah Allen play left back multiple times. How did you rate Noah Allen at the left back position from the times that we've seen him play?
I think he's improved. I've said it from the beginning. I've been following him since he came up as a homegrown. I think he was a very, very raw talent. And unfortunately, I thought he was mismanaged by Phil Neville. He was put out there, too young and not given the correct tutelage, I guess, or the correct direction from his manager. I thought he did a lot better under Tata Martino. You could see him more comfortable on the ball. You could see him use his talent and his ability on the ball while he was playing that left center back position. I loved that Tata gave him that opportunity. I know that Noah Allen, might not have wanted to be playing that position and he wants to play left back, but it goes to show you that now you can have him at multiple positions because he's proven that he can play a decent role in that left center back position. He's been starting at left center back all preseason, and they've let in 3 goals in 3 games. Obviously, 2 of those were to America. I don't, one of them wasn't his fault. But overall, I think Toto and Noah have got a good pairing and have some good chemistry. So I would love to see a little bit more, like you said, of Noah Allen at left back because we've seen enough of him at center back. But again, I have all the hope in the world, and I think his ceiling is a lot higher than what most people think. I've seen him up and close, seen him train, and again, I think he's got a lot of talent, and he just needs opportunity.
1000%. I mean, Tata Martino was the guy that first said that he was a center back because everybody would play him left back, or everybody say that he was a left back, and then when Tata Martino said, "No, I think that Noah Allen is a center back," everybody at that point, I remember, was like, "You're fucking crazy. Like, Noah Allen is not a center back. He's short. He's like scrawny. There's no possible way that he is a center back." And he shut everybody up, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Because like you said, his ceiling is like he doesn't have a ceiling, dude. Like he literally has no limits to the amount of potential that this guy has, and he's improved so far from the moment that Tata has stepped in up until now, and he constantly continues to prove himself that he belongs in this team full of superstars. He's made himself a real superstar on this team. And I can't wait to see him play at left back. I really want to see what he can do this year. And um and if maybe and if I mean, like, I don't think he's obviously not going to be starting at center back most of the time if Jordy's available. But when Jordy's not, I would love to see him be able to take that role and just kind of run with it, quite literally. But I want to see, before we continue a little bit or talk a little bit more, I want to see what you guys are saying about for the starting 11. We're going to go with Mitch first. Ustari in net for you. Lujan, Aviles, Martinez is not going to be available. Alba, Ruiz in the midfield with Bright and Busi with the 3 midfield pairing. Ashende, Messi, and Suarez. Okay. Mascherano is going to be playing a 4-4-2. So that's most likely not going to happen. But Ruiz, let me ask you this actually before we go. How have you rated Fafa so far in these preseason games? I know like we can't say a lot because it's preseason, there's only a couple games, but how have you been rating Fafa so far in just the preseason alone?
I think overall, I think he's been above average.
Okay.
If you're asking me to rate him from a 1 to 10, I'd say 6.5, 7.
Okay.
I don't think that he's found the chemistry yet with Suarez, with Messi. You can see Suarez yelling at him, during the games and all that.
Yeah.
and like, Suarez yells at everybody and he bites some people too. So it is what it is. You just got to go with it. But I personally, I mean, I would love to see him as a sub. I think he would add a lot to this team as a super sub off the bench. His speed is just unbelievable. And to have him come in with that speed in the second half with a defense who's already on tired legs, just to me, if I'm a Bull, I'm seeing red. I'm seeing red with that because I've played against him. I've seen the speed up close. I had to kick him so that he wouldn't pass me. So I know what he can do. And if he can get behind some of these defenders when they're tired and on tired legs, he's going to be able to net some goals for us this year. I mean, you saw him. He already netted one last week against San Miguelito. And, I was kind of championing the fact when I was on Battered Herons a couple weeks ago that Fafa, even if he starts, he could be a backup 9 to Suarez. And we've seen him play that role sometimes during this preseason where, Suarez will come off and Fafa will move from left wing or from left mid to center forward. And he offers a different kind of set of talent up there of skills than Suarez does. Suarez is going to hold the ball. He's a bigger body. Fafa's going to get behind defenders, and Messi could find him with those through balls that he's going to thread it through the defense. So, now I just went back and forth. I said super sub, then I said maybe he can start, but it goes to show what we've been talking about, what we talked about earlier, that this team is so deep. And I didn't even mention Fafa when we were talking about it. I didn't even mention it. So it just go. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy how amazing they assembled this team and that they're not done yet. It's crazy.
I mean, I literally only brought them up because everybody or most people in the comments are putting Fafa in their starting 11. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like they want to see Fafa in the starting 11. I thought that he was going to be our starting winger, like back when we first signed him. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like maybe this is our starting winger. But then it's like, okay, after I've been seeing him in these last couple of games, I'm like, I would personally prefer him come off the bench. Because imagine Fafa off the bench, like with everything that you just said, with his speed, with his aggressiveness, like he has that engine that will destroy defenses in the 60th, 70th minute in the game. That'll be a real game changer, especially when like players like Suarez or whoever, or Messi, or whoever is going to be tired, or other players are going to be tired, and we have Fafa running around like a little road runner. Like he's going to be making like those. He was making those runs in behind like it was nobody's business. And yes, it was against San Miguelito. But I know that he can do it against those top clubs, especially, and he can do it against the teams in the MLS because he's done it before. He's been doing it almost all his life. So
Hey,
no,
he,
I'm very no
he
man. This
scored
team is
against
deep.
us. He scored against us in the
He
Leagues Cup
did.
final.
Yeah, no, he did a couple of years ago. What is it? So I'm very excited. I'm so excited for this team. It's so deep. All right, guys, we're gonna be wrapping it up in a little bit. We'll get to the rest of your comments. Boyfriend is saying Morales is a. Oh, he's talking about Santi Morales. How do you rate Santi?
I think he's good.
Before we get to the next thing,
I think he's good. I just think he's young. And you know, young kids, you got to take them a little bit at a time. You can't just throw them in there. But I like the minutes that he's been getting. He seems super aggressive, super creative. I mean, if he's anything like his father was, you know, in this league, then he's gonna have a super bright future because his father was an absolute stud in the MLS.
I looked into his dad. I had no idea originally, and then I looked in. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when I was going to the Inter Miami 2 games a lot. I realized that was his kid, and then I looked up his dad, and I'm like, oh shit, like this guy actually is like he knows what he's doing. Like he was a great player in the MLS. So I know he's in good hands, and hopefully he doesn't get put a lot of pressure. But it seems like he can handle it no matter what. He played in front of. He kicked the penalty. He kicked a winning penalty. He played in front of 80,000 people at one point. Like, no, I think he's able to handle it for sure.
No doubt.
Any news on Obando? I don't know if you want. I know you said you posted a tweet earlier, but
I mean the last news that we heard is Inter Miami offered $3 million for the player, and they're in negotiations with Barcelona Sporting Club. You know, they own his rights. There are other teams that are interested. Bayern Munich, you know, has been rumored. PSG, obviously, Atletico Madrid was the one that was pushing the hardest for him. They were rumored to offer $5 million. But the Spanish transfer window closed on Monday. So I don't believe that I saw anything, you know, in terms of him signing a contract with Atletico Madrid. So that means it's still a possibility for him to end up with Inter Miami. Now, in terms of Rollheiser, I saw that there was a rumor that he was going to Brazil, possibly to go play with Neymar and Santos, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I know that there was also rumors of him going to, or if I'm not mistaken, Orlando City as well, or somebody had mentioned in a group chat that he would be great for Orlando City. So those are the only two things I have on those players.
And for now, I mean, like even if we get him or not, I'm still really confident in our team. I want to wrap this stream. This has been an awesome live stream, an awesome podcast episode. But I want to wrap up with something fun that I don't touch into football. Like I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know anything about basketball at all. But this has been all over my phone. Like this has been blowing up my social media accounts on every single platform, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And I'm like, dude, what is the big deal? And that is Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers. And it's like, so I'm thinking, I'm like, what is what's the equivalent of Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers in soccer/football terms or in Miami terms to you? I don't know how big of a basketball fan you are, but I feel like you would know a lot more than I do.
Yeah, so I mean, just so you know, I've been a Heat season ticket holder for over 22 years. So
there we
23
go.
years. So yeah, I'm well into the basketball. I do some basketball podcasting stuff. You know, this is nuts, man. It's nuts. And I'd almost say it's almost like Neymar leaving Al Hilal and going to Santos.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Why? Because Luka Doncic is going to go from the 5th top jersey seller to number 1 in 48 hours because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an absolute moneymaker. Now, he's the type of player that let's say he's not in the best shape. It's rumored that he drinks a beer before every game and after every game. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's true. And supposedly he's pushing like 275, 280, but gosh, he's so smooth with the basketball and he's so good.
Yeah.
So I would say it's something like that, or even if it would have been like, you know, Messi all of a sudden going to play for Real Madrid or something like that would be like, whoa, that's going to cause a lot of jersey sell, a lot of buzz. And it just comes out of absolutely nowhere because not even Luka Doncic knew he was going to be traded. Apparently, he bought a house like 15 days before, like a $15 million house, like a week before. So, yeah, I mean, I would literally say it's something similar to Vinny for Di Maria. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Hey, maybe this John Duran leaving Aston Villa and going to Al Nassr is kind of similar to that. I mean, he's going for all that money.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he can't even live with his girlfriend in Saudi Arabia. So they're going to live in Bahrain. He's got to travel 500 kilometers a day to get to practice. He's going to fly to practice every day. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was. I didn't think it was that deep. I didn't know it was that serious. I didn't know it was that serious. That's a better example.
Every day.
That's so
how crazy is that? Yeah.
That is insane. Oh my God. No, yeah. I just wanted to bring this up because I feel like I had a feeling that you knew something. I knew that you were going to be like a basketball expert, and here you are, 22 years with the Miami Heat. I was trying to think. It literally, I didn't get it because it was like, I just thought that this was one of the, like I said, I don't know anything about basketball. In my eyes, I thought this was just like another guy, one of the best players in the NBA, just moving to one of the best franchises in the NBA. And so I'm like, doesn't this make sense? I'm like, this is like one of the better players going to like one of the best teams, but everybody was just going crazy, and I was just trying to figure out like a comparison of like how could I understand this in soccer terms. So that makes a whole lot of more sense. I just thought that would be funny. I thought it would be a lot of fun. But no, Solana, this has been an absolute pleasure, an absolute blast hanging out with you tonight for over an hour. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom, your passion, your takes. This has been amazing, and I really hope we can do this again very, very soon.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you want, I'm ready to chat football with you. I'm glad we got to do it in English this time because
I was struggling in the Spanish a little bit. Like I'm very rusty. I'm very rusty in Spanish. Like I'm Argentinian, but Spanish is my second language. So it's like I'm fumbling on the grammar, I'm fumbling on the words. It's all right. Here I'm able to express myself better.
But I'm glad we got to do it in English because I got your full version of all your takes tonight. And honestly, I'm glad that we see eye to eye on a lot of things. It's weird. And Danny from the Battered Herons will tell you he hates it when him and I agree. Because he thinks that my takes are absolutely wild. So the fact that you and I agree on some stuff, it makes me feel like I'm not as crazy. Maybe it's because you're from Argentina, I'm from Uruguay, we're neighbors, we understand each other. It could be, you never know. But like always, thank you so much for bringing me on, man. It was a pleasure.
No, man, it was an absolute blast. Guys, make sure to check out Solana and all of his socials. Solana, plug yourself. Go take a minute to plug yourself.
All right, man. You can follow me at Danny Solana 5, all my socials, Instagram, X. I also have a YouTube channel. It's at Danny Solana 305. It's mostly Nacional stuff and some Inter Miami stuff, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Maybe I'll start streaming again.
Hell yeah, let's go. Yes, that's what I like to hear. More Solana streams. I love it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode here on the SoFlo Soccer channel. Thank you, Solana. I hope everybody has a great night. And then until Saturday, hopefully we can get that dub on Saturday. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss another stream. Maybe we'll see Solana very, very soon. So tune in for that. Have a great rest of your night, guys. Solana, good night. See you guys.
See you.
¿Qué mira, bobo? Anda para allá, bobo.